Welcome to Boat's Memory Method, where we are talking all things dementia. And today we are meeting the expert, Terry Barr, nurse practitioner extraordinaire with her last several years practicing in senior living. And we are so excited to have Terry. Terry is one of my longtime colleagues and friends, and I've learned so much from her on this dementia journey, doing the Boat's Memory Method and working closely with her from the inception of Boat's Memory Method. And here we are 6 years later, almost 6 years later to the date. And it's wonderful to have Terry here with me talking a little bit about aging in place and her passion for delivering care. Terry, will you introduce yourself to the audience?
Oh, well, it's a pleasure being here with you. I'm honored that you would invite me. Yes, I've been a nurse practitioner for many years. I started out in the hospital for 30 years as a nurse, and at the tender age of 50, I got my nurse practitioner in adult geriatrics. So for the last 18 years, I've been primarily focused on seniors. I worked in an office for 3 years with some great providers, but for the last 15 years, I've been doing assisted living facilities primarily. So I go to like 10 different places, from the Villages up to Jennings, over to Mayo. I mean, as I said, I have a pretty large footprint.
Reach. Yes,
Yeah.
here in Florida.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
you're one of the regional ones doing this.
Yes, and I worked with a company that had kind of spearheaded that, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, when I was even working at the Senior Healthcare Center, I saw a couple patients in their homes, and I could see the advantages. I learned so much more about them by going to their home rather than having them come into the office all spiffied up and,
Ready to go.
ready to go. So because I enjoyed that, when this opportunity came to go into people's homes at the assisted living facility level, I just saw the advantage for that population in particular. I think that, obviously if you're living in the community, you had transportation to go to a doctor's office, that's still a great way of getting care. But for these residents, transportation is a big issue, mobility. And then I think I get a lot more information. I can see when they're eating, if they're having any problems, either they're not eating or they're choking or coughing. I go to activities to see if they're participating, and usually those patients are the ones that are doing the best, I will say.
Right.
And I get to know what their normal is. So, say, for instance, Mary Sue meets me at the front door every time I come and she's not there, then I know, there's something wrong. Because I know her.
Something's off.
Something's off, yes.
Yes. There's so much to be said for that personal touch, that practitioner that goes the extra mile, goes into where that person lives. And we're seeing in healthcare now, we're seeing a shift where there are many practitioners and many different practices that are moving in that direction and doing mobile care. Tell me a little bit about your passion specifically for the dementia, the person living with dementia, and then what this care looks like. How does that help them age in place?
Well, yes, with dementia patients, it's the approach. I always say they didn't know me before they developed dementia, but they can recognize with me, maybe it's by my body language, my facial expressions, but they recognize someone who they can trust.
Yes.
And I also say it's like going to the butterfly museum. You can go to the butterfly museum and go all the way through and see some butterflies, but if you sit down on a bench, pretty soon they all come over, the butterflies to you. And that's how it is in the dementia unit. I go in there and sit and begin talking with them because they're still adult human beings inside, even though they've got a lot of difficulty maybe with communication or with their emotions. There's something precious inside. So I try to find out about who they were before, because they're a culmination of all those experiences, not just where they are right now in their journey. And then, to kind of try to make inroads based on that individual purpose in them.
Right.
So, I laugh and say, one more pill's not going to help these people. But sometimes, an acknowledgement of what they like and who's important to them or what's important to them can calm them down. It can give them that moment of connection that's really
so important.
So
that
important.
Meaningful connection. And
absolutely.
We talk, it makes me think of Boat's memory method. Our slogan is dementia may steal your mind, but it doesn't steal your heart.
I
and
like
how
that.
What you're doing, showing up and building rapport and being consistent, and you're becoming a fixture in the environment. They trust you because you're taking that time to build rapport. And like you're saying, you're learning and getting to know not only where they're at now, but where did they come from and what makes them valuable, what makes them tick, and how can we serve them holistically, not just on that one medical aspect. And that's just, to me, that's the way to do it.
Right, especially at that, as I said, that point. Longevity is not their friend at that point.
Yes.
So we just have to change the focus to make sure they're comfortable and at peace, engaged.
Quality of life.
Quality of life, and it's in moments, not in days anymore.
Oh, that's so true.
Yes.
In moments, not in days. I love that. So taking that time, showing up, being there, and then having that rapport, because then you're better able to discern when you go back on, is there a medical change?
Yes.
And what is then appropriate? Like you said, we don't always want to just jump to another medication. Right. It's like digging a little bit deeper to hydration issues, sleep issues. Are they sad? Are they lonely? Versus, is this really a psychological change that needs a medication, which often it's not.
And that, that is something we have to kind of struggle against, is that, sometimes maybe if things are seeming overwhelming and they're worried about that behavior, infecting the staff. The staff's worried. They're thinking that, a pill, but, perfect example of how that isn't going to work is, I always joke about, I tell them, the patient that's running around after they have all kinds of meds on board, and they're like going full speed ahead. And I said, have you ever been like too drunk and you're like, too much? Right. We have too much meds on them now. It's not that they need more meds. They're just, they're fighting against that weird feeling they have. Right. And that's why we're getting this kind of behavior. So we need to, back off a little bit.
Yes. I know this is a strong comment, but sometimes I feel like we're drugging the staff. It's for the people. It's not for the person. Mm-hmm. And if we have more person-centered care through what you're doing, showing up, getting to know the person, have the right approach, spend time with them, that we are better able to navigate some of these challenges rather than jumping to antipsychotics or any other medications that can actually increase falls, decrease quality of life, decrease their attention span, their ability to focus and connect. So that's something I've always appreciated about you, is that personal approach. So we're talking aging in place, and we're talking senior living versus, how do we make that choice? I see so much now on social media platforms when I'm talking to caregivers, to seniors that's getting ready to age, that's maybe worried. When is it appropriate to choose senior living, and when is it appropriate to age at home? And you and I had some interesting conversations about this.
Well, when I think of aging in place, of course, it's from the assisted living facility perspective. That's usually part of the marketing. Right. Yes, once you come here, we promise you won't have to go again. Right. But there's
one move. We're going to move once, and that's it.
That's it. And that's what we consider aging in place. But, nobody ever wants to move into the assisted living facility. Nobody downsizes and thinks this is a choice. There's always some type of crisis that occurs, usually a fall, that, the family steps in and says, something needs to be done. So, I look at that and I think, if only they had some care before now, then we could have maybe prevented the all or nothing of, you have no care and now this is the answer. Right. And I said, I go to a lot of different places.
I mean, it's a drastic shift.
It's a drastic.
Drastically going from home to a new environment for, like you said, either what it was a fall or it could have been hospitalization. And
yes.
suddenly the family decides that home is not appropriate anymore, and the only option is assisted living or memory care, which is a huge jump, like you said.
Huge jump.
And now it's a crisis for everybody.
Exactly. And they're all the assisted living facilities. I go to many different kinds, some very small, some large. It's just like when you're putting your kids in daycare. One size doesn't fit all. And for your child, all the big box stuff may be overwhelming. Same way with, your parent or your husband. I talk about my husband. He would not do well in an assisted living facility. Right. I, on the other hand, probably would just put my stethoscope on and pretend like I was still in charge.
All the people.
But we're very different, and so I look to him, and I think what would be best for us in the future. And ironically, he's taking a class right now on real estate for seniors, and he started talking about this aging in place term, and I realized, whoa, okay, you're right. Aging in place is actually meant to start in your own home. In your own home. And
so we need to paddle back upstream, and we need to kind of educate children, parents, elders, start planning in advance.
Yes, there's strategies that are very effective right now, using technology or extra services. I mean, food, you can always have your parents' groceries shipped in by Shipt, or whatever.
And even these pre-made meal kits that
yes.
can just be put together. You can actually plan the diet.
Yes.
For a month.
Yeah, even those factors are actually they're not frozen dishes. They're fresh. They're all pre-made. You put them in the microwave. So yes, there's a lot of options, that can be put into place, to supplement and kind of help with the the concerns that the family has about, is mom eating enough? Is mom going to fall? Right. What about mom's meds? They have these little saucers that can be preloaded.
Yes.
With their medications.
And it pops open and have an alarm, and it lets you know if you take it or not.
Right. It'll even let the person, the family member, know if you didn't do it, so then they can go and call you and say, are you okay? Why didn't you take your medicines?
It is, I'd like to just hover there a little bit with the new technologies and assistive devices. There's even some systems that you can put in through the home that track your person's habits. And if that habit changes, it immediately gives alert. So if somebody did not move through the hallway, or did not come into the kitchen, or did not come into the bathroom in 2-hour increments, it's going to alert via an app. We have so many monitoring systems of, if I fall, there's an immediate call. So I agree with you. I think what happens is that we are not maybe, first of all, anchored in the reality of our own limitations soon enough, and kind of thinking through what my health limitations may implicate in the future, and starting to think about, can I start making changes to my home? Can I adapt the bathroom? Do I need to put some grab bars by the toilet, toilet lift?
Pick up those rugs. Yes.
Pick up the rugs, open the doorways, put a ramp at the front door, kind of thinking about what may it look like if this is where I want to age. What will that take from me? And have, with me and you touched on this, and as well as having those hard conversations with the family. Have a family meeting.
Right. I try to introduce that when I'm, becoming a provider for them. Let's talk about bad things now when it's not a crisis. Yes. But even in your own family, it's always difficult. Nobody wants to talk about, you'll be fine. Nothing's going to happen.
Yes.
We're going to...
Well, you don't worry, Mom. What are you worrying
my husband,
about?
We're going to live to be 100. Don't worry, And we were... some really smart families, when they begin to see mom needs help, I always appreciate when they bring in a caregiver. You and I have talked about that a little bit. It can appear to be many different things. One example of most unique way that I had a family do this was they hired someone to be the dog walker.
Yes.
Okay. And the woman was accepting of that. You know, her hip was hurting her. Yes, we had someone come get the dog, but really that caregiver was there to help monitor.
She was the care partner, the paid care partner for
Yes.
mom.
And over time, I mean, they've been together for years, you know, eventually she just accepted her as being a friend and companion as well. The dog is actually gone now,
Right.
and she still comes.
And she's still there.
She's still there. But you know, in some way, you know, whether it be, you know, someone who's doing the lawn, but also, you know, may be able to do a couple handyman things. But it's
Yes.
someone who then knows their habits, comes into their world, and then if something is awry, they'll be like, wow, you know, where are they? And so, you know, I think it should happen sooner than later, not just in response to like a fall, we need to get a caregiver
Crisis.
in, but, you know, let's get someone to help you with some of these other things, and they can also be a part in that in-between phase of I'm totally independent, but now I need someone in the home to, you know, help me be safe.
I know, and you know, when I look at the statistics that 1 out of 3 seniors over 65 is going to have a cognitive decline or some dementia, and then over 85, that's 1 out of 2. So we need to start thinking, you know, as a community, as families, that that's probably going to affect us once one of our elders become over age 65. And what are the little red flags that we can look for? First off, environmental assistive devices, technologies, but then at which point are we going to introduce this extra help, the support? What does that look like? Is it maybe 2 hours once a week to give mom a little relief so that she can go to the gym or to Bible study or for a walk or with coffee with friends, and that person gets to know dad?
Exactly.
And so
Perfect. I mean, you know, I said just that little bit of it, because that person can be flexed up or flexed down
Yes.
if there's a crisis. This is just a contact that will, you know, can be part of the team. Things change.
that's right. So as a little synopsis or a recap on this conversation, you know, senior livings are wonderful, and it has all these levels of care where you can move in and you have, you know, it's one-stop shopping, it's socialization, activities, transport, providers on campus, and you can live independent, eventually go to assisted living, memory care. But there are those families that could potentially create an environment at home that may be more suited to their person if they plan ahead.
Absolutely. And you know, in any time you're dealing with your family members, you know, having those conversations it will just give you at least insight on what's important to your parent or to your spouse, so that you can make decisions, you know, it's in their best interests when the time comes.
Yes, and so that is also one last thing is just give me your opinion on advanced care planning.
Oh, well, yes. I mean, that's exactly where
Part of it.
Yeah, part of how I approach the advanced care plan is the exact same way. Let's talk about this today when there's sun shining and, you know, you're not having a problem. So I'm, you know, quite clear. I know for myself, the fact that my mother had advanced care planning was very comforting to me at a time when she was not able to communicate with me, and there were choices that had to be made that were hard.
Right.
And I was able to look to what she had requested, or
Our end-of-life wishes.
her wishes.
Yes.
So to know that I was making the right decision, that I wasn't doing it based on what I wanted, but what she wanted, and that was kind of the way I honored
Have
her.
that conversation way ahead of time.
Way ahead of time.
I'm actually right now, and I'm in my mid-50s, I'm having that estate planning and that look ahead done with my children are older. They're now older teenager, young adults, and having those conversations with them of what I want and putting that, you know, POA in place. What is a POA? I'm blanking.
Power of attorney.
Putting that power of attorney in place so that they can make those decisions, but having good guidelines for them.
Yes.
Healthcare surrogates these are the decisions that I want to be made about my health. I don't want to be on life support. I don't want end of life interventions done if I'm brain dead, that type of things, you know.
To know how you feel about things.
Right.
And, you know, people just shun away from difficult conversations, but it's way less difficult than when you're in the middle of
a crisis. So be prepared. Have that conversations now. Sit down with your family. Talk about the power of attorney. Talk about healthcare surrogacy. Talk about estate planning. Talk about your health. Look at what your diagnoses and your health status is right now and what that may look like later. So yes, aging in place can look very different, but many options, but we just have to plan for it and look ahead.
And I love partnering with you, you know, with those patients. Absolutely.
Me too, Terry. It's been such a blessing. I think I always say, having like-minded people in your corner, you know, aging advocates, but especially dementia advocates and cognitive health advocates. And I'd love to have you on again, and maybe we can talk a little bit about how can we keep our brain sharp before it becomes dementia.
Yes, there's lots of topics for sure.
Lots of topics for sure. It was lovely having you. Thank you for your time, Terry.
I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Have a great day. So if you want to follow Boat's Memory Method for more resources and topics, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on TikTok, Instagram, sign up for our newsletter from our website, that is Boat's Memory Method, BOTES, boatsmemorymethod.com, and we see you next time.